Hi, my name is Mike Davis. I want to welcome you back to our podcast in the Leaders Legacy series. I am the founder of Archangel Professional Leadership, or APLGuardian.com. We've got another exciting guest with us on this series of our podcast in Leaders Legacy. His name is Diego Anselmo, and he comes to us from North Carolina. Diego recently retired as a major in the police department in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's worked on several community initiatives with the immigrant population, community policing programs. He has taught at the university level. So we're really glad to have him on board with us today. We'll be talking to him a little bit about his public safety career and about the vocation of public service. Diego, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time out to join us on our podcast today.
Appreciate you inviting me, Mike.
Well, it's good to see you again. I know you're all the way in North Carolina, and we're together apart, right? I mean, we're all going through this pandemic and trying to deal with the challenges that present themselves. But it seems like yesterday we were standing on the top of a pyramid.
Yes, that was some great times. Great hike.
Yes, it definitely was. Yeah, you wore me out going up those steps, but I was happy to do it and happy to have you along my side. And I'm really glad that you're able to take some time out today to join us on our podcast. The theme of our podcast is the Leader's Legacy. And so, Diego, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you did in public service and what you're doing right now.
So originally I'm from New York. I moved to Charlotte in 1990. I joined the Charlotte Police Department and worked there for 28 years. I did like everybody else, started as an officer, worked my way up. I ended up retiring as a major with the department. I love the organization. It's a phenomenal organization. And since my retirement in 2018, I've been busy doing some consulting work and helping police departments provide some outreach to some communities.
That's great. It sounds like you've been busy and really wonderful work that you've been doing. Listen, so I want to ask you a couple of questions, and I know I've given you a little bit of time to think about it, but I want you to think back, early when you were young and you were either getting ready to pursue a career in law enforcement, or maybe you didn't know you were going to wind up in law enforcement. Did you have any mentors and anybody that influenced your life to set you on this path that you're on right now?
Well, I still think I'm kind of young, but you're right. I mean, early on, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way about their parents. My parents actually immigrated from Argentina when they were very young, early 20s. They left their country, spoke English, but very, very limited, and took a chance and come to this country because they recognized the opportunities that it presented. They lived in difficult, challenging neighborhoods, and yet were able to raise 2 kids, send me to college. So I consider them as good role models and mentors.
When you got involved in public service, you rose through the ranks, all the way up to major. When you first got your very first start as a supervisor and you had the responsibility of looking at the work of other people, did you feel adequately prepared? I mean, what was it like?
Well, technically, I was working in homicide at the time. I was a detective, and that wasn't necessarily a rank. It was just a position that was still as an officer position, but you're a detective. But I got promoted out of homicide. I worked as a sergeant in the field, and one of the first things I felt prepared, but being a supervisor is a lot different than being a detective. And I was trying to be a detective as a supervisor and trying to micromanage everything, make sure everybody does everything exactly the way it should be done, instead of sitting back and letting people, do the work and learn a lot on how to do things without me stepping in. So, no, I don't think I was as prepared for my first step as a sergeant. But you learn on the job fairly quickly.
And so, but, once you learned and you gained that level of experience, obviously you had the opportunity to mentor some of your subordinates. What were some of the things that you left them or that you would like to leave others in their journey, either up the ranks or within their ranks?
I think one of the things that I always tried to do, especially as a captain and as a major is provide the people I worked with a vision for them to see what it is that we're trying to accomplish and have them actually buy into it, but then get out of their way. You'd be shocked if you don't supervisors step out of the way of some of these amazing younger people. They're very creative, and they'll surprise you, and they'll take that vision and make it even better than what you imagined.
And so, in the 30 years there, what would you say were some of the most notable accomplishments that you had? I mean, you've done a lot. I know, especially some of the community initiatives that you were a part of.
Probably my biggest accomplishment is now that I'm retired, and even when I was there, especially towards my last 10 years, seeing the people that worked for me get promoted. In fact, currently, our current chief, who was just selected this past year, was one of my captains when I got promoted to major. And seeing these individuals accomplish so much and doing what I always think of as good for the community, and raising to the level of influence like the chief of police is very rewarding for me too.
That's fantastic, Diego. And if you had an opportunity to talk to right now the officers who are in a supervisory role right now, what would you tell them to expect, or what do they need to do to prepare themselves, especially for the current environment that they're working in right now?
And you've been on the job for a long time too, and we've been dealing with a lot of these challenges. Getting that trust in the community. A lot of people talk about it's how difficult it is to get the immigrant community trust, but just in general trust. When I joined the police department, we did traditional policing. It was very was the dragnet idea was just the facts, and we dealt with the call and we walked away. We didn't actually get into the root problems of what's happening. And also what's influencing those neighborhoods, what other factors are in the neighborhood that influence the behavior that takes place. So, making sure that we don't forget that mentality of community policing where, you're not just focused on the crime, but again, what's causing those chronic cases to occur in certain neighborhoods, and trying to eliminate those other things, that it's not just about catching the bad guy, but also making sure we don't have influences there that are causing other people to step in. So again, as far as there's a lot of opportunity now with technology to doing your research, new theories, but quite honestly, policing is about doing good. I mean, the idea is this isn't rocket science. I mean, you're supposed to look out for those that need help. And if you stick to that mentality, you're not going to have any problems. It's when you try to have preconceived notions of behaviors, that's where you start having issues, biases and things of that nature, where you let it impact the way you do your job. I think that's where the problem is.
Completely agree with you, Diego. Thank you. So let me ask you just a couple more questions. If you had an opportunity to speak to 10 children, 10,000 kids, 300,000 children, about public service, about the benefits of public service, or about considering a career in service, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in law enforcement, what do you think you might want to impart on those kids for the next generation? They're going to face a whole new set of challenges.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I grew up in predominantly the late 70s, early 80s, and you probably remember this movie, Wall Street. Michael Douglas, remember? Well, what's that famous line? It's greed is good.
That's right.
And so everybody's out to make a buck. And something whether I'm talking to 300 or my 3 kids who are all grown up, I've always told them to do good. And the idea is that, I didn't become rich being a police officer and doing public service necessarily, but my kids had every opportunity that other kids have. And on top of that, I had the luxury of looking back on my 28, almost 30 years of service, feeling that I accomplished that goal of doing good for the, I'm not perfect for sure. Nobody's perfect, but the idea is that I can look back and even seeing some of the tragic events that have happened over the years, I still feel good about the service that I provided this community. And there's so many officers that feel the same way, and they're doing that right now. They need to lean on that, especially when people are questioning law enforcement in general. Just realize that, we don't want to stereotype law enforcement, just like we don't want to stereotype community members. The majority of the officers that I had the honor to work with have always tried to do good. And whether you're in law enforcement or anything, even in the private sector, always have that in the back of your mind. How are you helping your community and how are you helping individuals?
Well said. Thank you, Diego. So before we leave you today, is there any resources or any books or anything that you think any of our listeners or viewers might benefit from, or anything that maybe, that helped you along the way?
Well, there was a quote, actually you made me think of it, that I love. And as far as for leadership and supervisory positions, it always drove me crazy when supervisors weren't able to do this. But the quote is, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. I mean, as a supervisor, be prepared to make decisions. And, again, sometimes it may not be the right decision. But if you sit back and do nothing, then you're not being a supervisor. All right. And again, learn from those mistakes. As far as books and things of that nature, training, I mean, like I said, especially in law enforcement, we have, the FBI National Academy. We have state academies that provide great leadership training. Believe it or not, a book that I really enjoyed reading was Rudy Giuliani's book on leadership. He actually wrote it before 9/11, before the attacks on 9/11, and then went back and edited the book to apply some of those lessons or those components of leadership to how he responded to 9/11. Whatever you think of Rudy Giuliani now, whatever, did a great job during that tragic event. But and those leadership traits are things that I use to this day in my leadership roles.
So, Diego, what do you want your legacy to be? Good question.
Yeah. I hope I was a good husband. I've been married to my wife for now 30 some odd years. I can't remember. Of course, now I'm going to get probably in trouble for that.
Congratulations.
My kids are, grown. They're, my oldest one's 26, and he served his country as a Marine. And my twins are 23. And I hope I was a great father for them, a good role model, who also made sure they understood that their dad wasn't perfect. So don't strive to be, think that your dad's perfect and nobody's perfect, but that you're always striving to become perfect and trying to improve yourself as well as, the community you live in. So I guess that's my legacy. Is I hope I'm still working on it. So I still got things to add to this legacy. But for now, it's being a good family man and a good servant to the public.
So, Diego, again, you definitely reflect the word serviam, and as I mentioned, it means I will serve, and you continue to serve our community in a great way, doing amazing things. I thank you for your public service, and I appreciate your time today. I hope our listeners have enjoyed our time and that they visit our website. So, listen, Diego, before we go, I know that you're working still in the community. So let our listeners and viewers know what you're doing and where they can find out more information.
So right now, the consulting name is Immigrant Outreach Solutions. It's a long name, and you can find it at the website www.immigrantOutreachSolutions.com. Basically, I'm just providing law enforcement and, quite honestly, even the government sector and private sector some practices, procedures, things that I've done throughout my 30 years that proven effective to get into the community, build trust and collaboration, and provide more effective law enforcement services or services in general to that community.
Fantastic. So thank you for your time, Diego. I appreciate you as a mentor to public servants globally, and for all that you're doing right now and all that you have done. Again, so you can visit our website at aplguardian.com and make sure you check out Diego's information. We'll put his website on our website. So if you need to get a hold of him, you can visit aplguardian.com, or you can contact him directly. So thanks again. I appreciate your time.
Mike, thank you, and thank you for your service too. I mean, you've done a great job too.
Thank you, Diego. So once again, we'd like to thank Diego for spending time with us today. And I ask that you visit our website, www.aplguardian.com. Make sure you visit our shop. We've got a lot of interesting products on there. We just added some cups, some coffee cups, and a few other things on there. We've got t-shirts, stickers, and decals. If you are a dedicated professional in public service, or you're looking to start a career in public service, then let them know Serviam. I will serve. And it is our motto, it's our mantra, and it's what we believe in. It's our guiding principle. And please visit our website. Make sure you like us on Facebook. We've got a Twitter account and on LinkedIn. So visit our website, www.aplguardian.com. We look forward to seeing you again. Serviam. Thank you.